Hey guys, I'm back here again finally to bring you yet another video after a few days of delay because as we near, we've had Christmas and we have New Year's coming around the corner. I've been a little bit busy to throw these videos up and of course, as you notice on the channel, it's not the biggest in the moment, so there's not a great demand for them, but I still want to try and be
Mm.
as consistent as possible, and I hope to be that come 2016, come the new year, once we get right into it and everything. And I thought I'd finally bring you a video I've been planning to do, and I'm very much looking forward to doing this video. And that by the time I upload this video, it might not be until the next day after I'm recording this, but it'll still be. You'll probably more than likely listen to it. I'm very excited to actually get my thoughts off about this and everything like that. And I'm actually joined once again by a friend of mine, Ian Scott. Scott, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah,
Yes.
welcome. I'm here today, as you see, from the title of the video, to bring you what are my personal top 10 movies of from what I've seen of 2015. Of course, I haven't seen every movie this year. I've tried to catch up on movies the past week or so and trying to see as many as I can from this year in anticipation of the Oscars and that. But there's big movies I haven't seen, such as like The Revenant with DiCaprio and Hateful Eight and
Mm.
everything. I'm waiting for those to come out in cinemas, so of course they won't be on my list. I am going to actually do an updated pre-Oscars top 10 going into the Oscars at the end of February. So by then
Mm.
I'll probably see a lot more, and that will be my finalized top 10 for 2015 by that point, hopefully. And that, but until then, come as we near New Year's, the end of 2015, I'm going to give you what are my top 10 movies for me personally. This is my personal top 10. If you have different, that's fine, and it's subjective. You can leave your thoughts in the comments of what your favorite movie of the year was and everything, and your top 5 or 10, and that. But without any further delay, I'm going to delve right into my top 10 movies of the year, and that, starting with number 10, and that, which is one of the biggest movies of the year, and that a blockbuster to actually kick off my top 10 in what is Avengers Age of Ultron. And that,
Oh.
now, I will say this film wasn't as critically acclaimed as the first movie, and that I will say, like, the first Avengers movie was huge. It was massive. It wasn't that it was just huge and massive and everything. It was such a beloved following for it. And this film didn't have that as much, but I still had a lot of fun with it. And I still had a lot of fun with this film. I thought I liked seeing the actors back in their roles. I like seeing new characters such as like Vision and Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver and Ultron and all this. So I liked seeing all that. It was a ton of fun, and I thought it could have been executed a little better with Ultron and everything, but due to the fun factor and due to my kind of love for what Marvel have done with the MCU and everything, this just sneaks into my top 10 at the number 10 spot. And Scott, have I believe you've seen Age of Ultron. Did you have any kind of comments to make on that?
Oh man. I'm surprised you actually put it down from your previous list because you did make a list before making this video that you can see. This thing a little bit higher, but we actually had a little chat about it beforehand, and I'll talk to the audience while I talk to Dan about. I felt that the movie isn't as good, and the reason why it was going for parts. It seemed a lot more unfocused in areas where it should have been a lot more focused. While I love the movie, and like who hasn't seen at least a Marvel movie by now, and seen like Age of Ultron, especially after the acclaim after, as we said, the beloved
First
like
film.
fan loved film of Avengers that just hit like the box office just like that. And a lot of people really wanted to go into this. I felt I don't know. It seems like a movie I want a lot more, but at the same time, it's so unfocused that just kind of compared to another movie that's probably on this list still. We'll talk about that. But what is the next movie?
Okay, moving on to what is now number 9 on this list, and that so getting out of just in the first 2 spots on this list, getting them right out of the way. Number 9 is Ant-Man at number 9, and that I very much enjoyed Ant-Man. Actually, I had a lot of fun with Ant-Man. I enjoyed it more than Age of Ultron. I don't know if I was in the minority on that or not. I loved Ant-Man. I thought the visuals were amazing when he shrunk and everything, and the fight sequences in the movie were spectacular. Visually looking at them, and that from a visual standpoint. Paul Rudd was fantastic, I thought, with his comedic timing weaved in with kind of his dramatic kind of how he played off his daughter in the film. Was very well done. And Michael Douglas and Evangeline Lilly, you have them in the film as well. It was such a fun movie. It was so much fun. And it was the Guardians of the Galaxy of 2015, pretty much. And it was just, I loved that, man. I loved it more than Age of Ultron. It sneaks into my number 9 spot. But yeah, Scott, did you have any comments on Ant-Man?
I can definitely say pretty much the same. It's pretty much the Guardians of the Galaxy of this year, as you stated, and I will definitely stay by that. Age of Ultron, while it was unfocused in areas, I've rewatched Ant-Man is definitely by far the better movie of this year in the Marvel category. But at the same time, I rewatched it. It has a really good fun factor, but there's definitely better movies higher than this. I can definitely see this probably on the list. Maybe if you love comic book like movies, you'll probably sneak in and maybe a 6 or 5 because there's a really good number of good movies out there. But this is definitely a very fun one that we really needed after I kind of felt a disappointment for Age of Ultron. What will be the next one on your list?
Alright, so yeah, moving on to the next one, and that, which I'm not sure, I think more people should have seen this movie. I'm not sure how many people saw this movie. It's a fantastic film. I just saw it recently, and that I'm not sure if Scott's seen it or not, but I'd love to hear his thoughts on it from a general standpoint. And that, but at number 8, it is director Danny Boyle's Steve Jobs, and that the new Steve Jobs biopic, which I thought was fantastic. You have Michael Fassbender, who played, speaking of comic book movies, Michael Fassbender played Magneto in X-Men First Class and Days of Future Past, and that's playing the role of Steve Jobs. And I can't say I'm really an Apple person. Like, I have an iPad myself, but I'm not a big Apple person. It's more so how they presented the story of Steve Jobs and how they executed it. And you have actors delivering these performances I haven't seen, like Seth Rogen as Steve Wozniak. I'm forgetting the name. He played Steve Wozniak, his partner. He was like Seth Rogen used to comedy and everything. He was amazing in this film. It was such a wonderfully executed film. I'm not big on biopics necessarily, and I'm not a big Apple person either. I just thought Fassbender was amazing in this film, and I'm also a big fan of Danny Boyle, the director. He directed one of my favorite movies of all time, in 127 Hours with James Franco. But I thought Steve Jobs was fantastic. I thought it was great. But yeah, Scott, did you have any thoughts on Steve Jobs at all?
Well, I haven't seen it. I have heard a lot of good things. I've seen bits and pieces. I've seen a good number of bits and pieces from other movies that I haven't 100% watched. But I definitely can see a lot of people going, Steve Jobs is definitely one of those movies that you should have seen in 2015. But a lot of people, as you said, haven't really watched it that much. And I haven't seen many people really put it on the top 10 list. But then again, there hasn't been that many top 10 lists currently of this time. But yeah, I definitely think Steve Jobs could become really, really, really good, or get like a underrated following at some point later in like 2016, or maybe a little bit later in the years. What will be the next one?
All right, moving on now to the next slot, or next slot on this list, I guess you could say. At number 7 already on this list we're up to is a film, once again, not a lot of people have seen, and I don't know if Scott has seen it or not, but I will say this is a film I would actually see Scott very much enjoying. I would recommend this for most people, and this is an excellent movie with only 3 actors in this movie who do superb jobs. But just to get it out of the way, number 7 is Ex Machina, and that's starring Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaac, who are in all the fame at the moment for Star Wars and that, and also stars Alicia Vikander as well. This is an amazing film. You have Domhnall Gleeson playing this young worker of this company who wins this competition to go to the resort, or not resort, but the home of his CEO for a week, of course. And you start to learn about what this CEO is doing when it comes to AI and making his own AI, and how he wants Domhnall Gleeson to do this test of sorts to pretty much see if this AI can come off, making you believe it's human. So I don't want to speak too much further than that, but it's a very intriguing, interesting movie that makes you think, and it's a very thrilling movie as well, because you don't know. It throws it up in the air. You don't know what's going to happen next. But Scott, have you heard about this film, and do you have any thoughts on Ex Machina?
I probably won't have that much thoughts, but I have heard this film. I did recall it way back, but I just didn't see it, and a lot of people really did kind of skip over it. I don't know. I really don't know about much of this film besides actually sneaking up on a lot of top 10 lists that have been released recently. I'll probably get into this as well. I can probably get really into this because of the. I heard it had really good acting, had really good cinematography. I just can't really. I don't know. It's probably because I was just busy with school and stuff. But yeah, sadly I can't really talk that much on it, even with like the very little shots I've seen. Next one.
Moving on, but I will say for that film quickly, briefly, that I think half the budget of that small budget movie was used on the AI itself, like half the budget of the movie.
Oh yeah, sure.
And Alicia Vikander, who played the AI, was amazing. But that's pretty much that. Anyway, number 7 was Ex Machina. And I will just repeat what the list has been so far as we move on now, which I should be doing. Number 10 was Avengers Age of Ultron. Number 9 was Ant-Man. Number 8 was Steve Jobs. Number 7 was Ex Machina. Number 6 is a film which I've heard so much anticipation behind it, so much good word around this film. It's a very popular movie at the moment from a very popular company. It blew me away in just about any way possible. And number 6 is Inside Out from Pixar. And which I thought was such a beautifully made film exploring all the emotions of a human being. And not just a human being, but this young girl who has moved away from her childhood home, and how she, and kind of how her life kind of goes from there, and how you have these characters in the emotions and this whole, and it's I really don't want to get into it too much. It's such a beautifully animated, story-driven film that Pixar are so good at, and they've done it again. And that. But Scott, have you seen Inside Out, or do you have any thoughts on it at all, or comments about it?
Just for people to know, I am an animation fan, and I recently actually got Inside Out for Christmas, and I watched it. I can definitely say I can see the appeal. The concept is amazing. The animation is amazing, as expected from Pixar. Though, story-wise, it's good, but it's also secluded. Like, there's not much going on at the same time, but then again, the concept that it's doing is so out there. This could be done kind of in live action, I guess, but with animation, you can get so many great facial expressions. Though, if you're looking for a very intelligent movie overall, I don't think there's that much appeal for it. And one thing that does kind of bug me is I recently watched a review that went more into detail about if people were like this, a lot of people would have more like these spasms of like the one minute where she's trying to like eat something, and she just keeps going like, oh, I don't want to eat it. I'm like, what? Okay. That kind of bugged me a bit with the movie, but overall, I think the movie you should watch it. It's a really good movie. It probably sneaks up there in like the number 5. I'm surprised that Ant-Man wasn't as high as Inside Out, but it is your list after all. Yeah. What would be your next movie?
Moving on there into the top 5, and I will say, like, no deny, all these movies are very, very good. Ant-Man was a ton of fun, and so is Inside Out. It's just for different reasons, more so, I guess. And that, like a lot
Yeah,
of
I don't want to judge
like
on
I
that. It
no, it's
actually surprised it went slightly lower than Inside Out because I did remember it was somewhat higher. But then again, it is your list, so you do kind of get that feeling
yeah,
of
like
this
it's
probably is higher
because
and this is a little bit lower.
yeah, like a lot of the movies you'll see above the other ones are both above them because I had more fun with them, or they're above them because quality-wise, it's very weird. It's very, and I will kind of try and specify now as we enter top five of how they if they rank there because of the fun factor more or the quality factor more, and that. Getting
Thank
into
you.
number five though, this film's definitely here because of quality. I just watched this film today, actually. It could be a knee-jerk reaction, but I just watched it for the first time today. It blew me away with how this is a powerful movie. It's a very powerful movie. It's not for everyone, and that like when it comes to like people's taste in film, I'm really into any sort of film as long as it's great storytelling and that. But this film was it was beautifully done, and this film is called Room, starring Brie Larson, and I don't know actually how many people have heard about this film, and that's a very much smaller movie in that. What Room follows is just to give you guys and Scott. I don't know if Scott's heard of it as well, or not. Have you?
I kind of have, but I'm not 100% sure of it.
Yeah, like
Uh,
oh, sorry. I'll just give like a brief kind of synopsis on like people like Scott and others who don't know a lot about it and that. And it's not a film for everyone, but I just thought it was such beautifully executed in that, starring Brie Larson and watch out for her at Oscar season. Brie Larson for best actress nomination. Who knows? And that she was superb. But this film follows this mother and her child they've been pretty much being held captive in a guy's shed, and that by this in this freak shed, and it shows how this young kid, this young son, now after how he adapts to the real world after growing up inside a room. Like he's so used to his first 5 years living in this room, and it's such a beautiful film. It's such an emotional film. It's such a thrilling film, and I thought it was so well executed. It's not for everyone. It's not. It's some people might get bored of this kind of film, and I can understand. But I just thought because of how kind of beautifully well it was done, and how you're kind of it's. I thought I can't. Fun is not the word for this film necessarily. I just had a lot of emotions with this movie, you could say, and that. But yeah, Scott, did you have any comments about this film? Like if it's one that you'd be interested in or not? It really depends. Like it's your yeah.
I always like those films where it explores the human mind to an after experience. And this seems like a really good movie straight off the bat. Because, one, the person is an everyday person, just going out there and looking at this world that is ours. And I always feel that there's so much you can have as the character. You can feel so emotional for this character. Even if I haven't seen this movie, that is how I feel right off the bat. Oh man, I could probably get into this movie really, really well. But as you said, it's not for everyone. Some people might just get bored. Because, as I said, it is a everyman. There's not much action, I believe. It's very emotional driven.
Yes.
What would be the next film in that case?
Yeah, like to briefly say, it's it's a very powerful movie. So it's not that you'll get bored more so watching it, like I said, but it's also because some people just can't take powerful movies. It's just too much for them, if that makes sense. And so it's just for that reason as well. But if this story interests you, and it's actually based on a book of the same name, which is actually based on true events. This movie, of course, doesn't follow the true events exactly, but it does follow true events that happened in Austria some years ago, which was horrendous, and that. But it's a beautifully executed movie. But moving on now to what is now number 4, we're entering now the top 4, and of this list, and that. So getting right into this, at number 4, very popular movie People are calling it the resurgence of one man in particular.
Oh, I know.
The resurgence of one man in particular, saying he's finally back after some backlash with his movies, and he's now getting some critical acclaim. Number 4 is Ridley Scott's The Martian, and that's starring
Oh,
Matt Damon. This is people called this the Interstellar of 2015. I think it's better than Interstellar. It's a very different movie to Interstellar. Very, very different movie to Interstellar. I rewatched Interstellar today, actually, finally, and that very different to Interstellar. But it's nice because it's like Castaway on Mars, following Matt Damon, but they make it in a way where it's, yes, you have this emotional attachment, but it's also they make it funny. You're laughing. There was a lot of great comedic timing to this movie, and in this day and age of all this fighting you hear in the world, it's nice to see stuff in this movie where you see people come together to save this one man who's been left behind on Mars. Like, see all these people come together just for that. I think that is just amazing. I thought this film was just fantastic. I thought the soundtrack was amazing. I thought the cinematography of Mars and how Mars looked was just spectacular. Beautifully well done movie. But yeah, Scott, do you have any comments on that?
right at the bat, I thought you were going to say Creed.
Your
I
thoughts?
really thought you were going to say Creed, damn it.
Well, do you have any comments on The Martian?
Oh, I heard there's so many. This is easily getting up in the top 3, usually. Well, I haven't personally watched it. I've seen reviews of this film, and they are saying it's a really good film. It's very scientific. They love that how the character actually gets out from Mars, and I haven't heard that much about like all the other rest of the characters because they are usually have heard it from top 10 reviews
Yeah.
that I've watched recently.
Yeah, like
Just explore that idea, and they only skim over the surface. They don't really talk about the side characters. So I can definitely see this much later, probably in early 2016. I'll probably like talk about it then.
yeah, like
But
I should say when I say resurgence, I mean this is when it comes to critical acclaim of sorts, and that and I'm not saying that his recent work that you haven't liked. If you've liked it, that's great. I'm just talking critical acclaim of how he's been treated with reviews and everything. And who I mean by that is not Matt Damon. No. I mean the actual Ridley Scott himself, the director, and who people claim Ridley Scott has not done a critically great movie since Gladiator, which was like 15 years
I
ago.
definitely see that.
And that, so people have claimed that, but yeah, The Martian, I thought The Martian was great. I had a lot of fun with it. I thought it was better than Interstellar. I know a lot of people comparing them, but it's very, very hard to compare them because they're more different than people want to make them seem. And,
Yeah, from what I've seen, small bits of it, I think Interstellar and this is, I can understand why people like kind of debate between them. They are different films for different things.
yeah. But should I enter now my top 3? Into the top 3 now. And that number 3. Alright, here we go. And that the first film came out in the 70s, and that we're now up to the 7th film in the franchise, and that we're up to the 7th film in this franchise, which is come back finally, and a lot of people have nostalgia with this franchise. And yes, I'm stealing this joke from someone else on YouTube, but it was so good I had to. And that, but I'm stealing this joke from Jeremy Johns, by the way. And that I'll give credit there where credit's due. 7th installment in a franchise. Number 3 is Creed. People thought you were going to say Star Wars right there, didn't you? No, the 7th installment in the Rocky franchise is Creed. First film came out in the 70s. I had to just borrow that joke from Jeremy Johns. That was too good, and that. But Creed, oh my god, I couldn't believe. I went into this film with what would you say? I had expectations somewhat, and I thought it was going to be a very good movie. I thought the trailers were fantastic, and I was amazed with how kind of Sylvester Stallone looked when it from the trailers, and how it with Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed as Apollo's son, it looked really good. I watched this movie, it blew me away. It blew me away. It was so good, and that I had so many nostalgic feelings with this movie. I will say I've yet to see the 2006 Rocky movie, and that I know I have seen the original five, and that when I was younger, and I come back to watching this one, and when you hear the Rocky theme play, and that spoiler, the Rocky theme plays like whatever. When I hear that play, oh my god, shivers went up my spine. I'm like, oh my god, this is Rocky. This is goddamn Rocky. And that, like, yes, this is more of a focus on Adonis Creed, kind of his rise to power in the ring, and Rocky as his manager, but it's so beautifully, their relationship, and Adonis and Michael B. Jordan's portrayal, and Sylvester Stallone delivering one of the best performances of his career since maybe the first Rocky movie. Magnificent movie. I loved Creed. But yeah, Scott, did you have any thoughts on Creed?
Oh man, this movie is what made people want to love Rocky. When people hear the name Rocky, they don't know. But if you don't know what Rocky is, out of, like, I don't know, the 5% of people on Earth, basically, this movie and Rocky before, it is so emotionally driven. And then some people might debate, it's like, I wanted more boxing, but there is some really good boxing scenes in this movie. I can definitely say that. I believe there was if I recall, there was 100% like long shot of him just boxing. It looks so impressive, but it's also the emotion and the driven that makes this movie so good. And why it's definitely up, like, near the top 5, easily near the top 5, or like just straight up on the 3 list.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I'm trying to say just how beautiful this film is, and if you haven't seen it, I say go watch probably just the first original Rocky movie, and you'll understand, and then go straight into this, and you'll understand like where is he coming from. This is a very, very good way of getting people not only into this movie, but also into previous Rocky movies. Anyone could watch these from any timeline and love it.
Yeah, for
sure. What would you say is the next one?
Okay. Yeah, just moving on to the next one from what was Creed, the magnificent movie in Creed. Just briefly saying again, I loved Creed so much. It was so. It was so story driven and just so beautiful. Like the story driven mixed with the fight scenes that everyone wants to see, beautifully done. But moving on now to number 2, and that which I know a number of people have seen this film by this point, and I will say this film would have been number 1 if it wasn't for one other movie, which you may guess. But number 2, it came so close to being number 1. And that much closer than what I would have thought. And it got to number 2 because of one scene. One scene in this movie got this movie to my number 2 slot because of how good it was. Number 2 is Kingsman: The Secret Service. And I loved Kingsman so much. It was like a ton. It's up here because of not just fun factor, but quality factor. I thought Matthew Vaughn, the director, did such... his execution of fight sequences in movies when it comes to like Kick-Ass and Kingsman and stuff like that, he is just killer at it. He's with the blood effects and the comedic timing weaved into it, and oh my god, this film, Samuel Jackson is the villain, a villain you could actually understand and you have a laugh with, and Colin Firth becoming an action star. Colin Firth killed it. I will say the one scene in this movie that sold me on, as soon as the scene ended after watching it in the cinema, I was literally my jaw hit the floor, and it was a scene in a church with Colin Firth. I'll say no more. It's about a 3-5 minute action sequence in the church with Colin Firth, and that and it is breathtaking. Oh my
Mm.
god. But just that alone, this film is amazing. Credit as well to Taron Egerton, who plays the young kid Eggsy in this movie. He does a fantastic job. Oh, Mark Strong in this movie. Michael Caine. Who else is there? My God, Mark Hamill's in this movie. People remember that Mark Hamill's in this movie, and he's a smaller role, but he does a good job. And I love this movie so much. But yeah. Do you have any thoughts on comments on Kingsman: The Secret Service?
Oh, Kingsman is definitely one of those movies I really, really enjoyed. I've watched maybe 2 to 3 times now. It's basically, if you do not know, it's like the new age James Bond movie, as much as Creed is pretty much the new age continuation of Rocky, though, like, The Kingsman is a completely different film. I believe, I'm not 100% sure if they actually want to do like a James Bond tie-in. But this movie is actually so good. Like, surprisingly, there has been a good number of spy movies this year, with Spy being a pretty damn good comedy, but it doesn't make it a top 10 list. But I can definitely see a good appeal of it if you actually have seen it. And was there a James Bond movie this year? I remember there's a James Bond movie.
There was Spectre came out a couple months ago.
God damn, what happened to that?
And yeah, we'll probably get into some of that in another video. Yeah.
Yeah. This is. If you want to see a great, just dumb villain who's like super good, but he just eats up the role. It's so good. If you've seen James Bond movies, this is just right up your alley. If you're someone who's just going into this action movie, you're probably just going to love it just because of it. And you just need to see the movie. You just got to watch it.
So shall we move on to number one? And
Let's go far away.
to the number one spot on my list. Number one. And how do I put this simply? My number one on this list is none other than Fantastic Four. No, I'm joking.
Fuck you.
No. God damn. No. My number one on this list, I think it's somewhat obvious to probably most of you in that. Number one on this list has to be, and I will explain why it's here, and that because some of you will be like, oh, you already put it here because you're just a fanboy. I will explain why it's here. And that number one on this list is Star Wars The Force Awakens. And that at number one, let me explain here, because some of you may be saying, oh, you're just being you're just biased against Star Wars and that, or biased for Star Wars.
Yeah, just like me right now.
Like, okay, listen. It's number one here. Like, do I think Creed and Kingsman and Room and movies like that are better than Star Wars quality-wise? Yes, probably, and that. But when it comes to the anticipation and how much weight was on this film, and the fact that it was reviving a franchise, and how J.J. Abrams had to deliver for millions to millions of fans, and he did it. He did, in my eyes, he did it. He brought back Harrison Ford. He brought back Carrie Fisher. He brought in these new stars like Daisy Ridley and John Boyega. He brought us back into a world of galaxy far, far away where you have stormtroopers and you have the First Order with Kylo Ren, who is Adam Driver plays Kylo Ren, my favourite villain of the year. I thought Kylo Ren is amazing. People complain saying, oh, he's just a whiny little kid. That's called character. You don't want him being a powerful badass from the start. You want him, like, at least I want him to have a journey as a character, and this is a journey of a character just starting off, and a very troubled character, but I shouldn't really speak too much there. Actually, I don't want to get into too much spoilers there. I'll be very careful in that. But to say the least, I think it's not a surprise that Adam Driver plays him, and I don't think I've spoiled much there. But J.J. Abrams just delivered on so many years of hype, and that is why it got to number one spot. More so because of how much it delivered on, and the fun factor and the nostalgic factor. Like, I teared up when the opening crawl came on the cinema in this movie. I've seen this film 4 times already. I've seen it 4 times in the cinema, and I teared up when the opening crawl came up. I teared up when at multiple times in this movie. And that, like, yeah, I teared up when you see Han Solo for the first time again. Like, oh, it's. I love this movie. It was so good. It's. I felt like it was such an adventure. Daisy Ridley was a star. She's a rising star who's just been found by J.J. Abrams and Lucasfilm, and that fantastic movie. John Boyega's amazing. The comedic timing is fantastic. People complain that the comedy is too Disney-fied. That's called adding personality. Something the prequels needed more of. And that, and this film brought it back, where you actually had a laugh with the characters and you kind of connected with them more. But Scott, I'll let you speak because I'm probably you're dying to speak maybe on this film. I'm not too sure.
All right.
On your comments about my number one pick for now until I do a pre-Oscars list. My number one pick in Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Played by Fantastic Four.
Well, yeah. Well, what do you?
While I'm not a huge fan of Star Wars, I can definitely see why people just were like, "This is the top one. This is the number one of my list." Well, like you can debatably say it's mostly because you are fans of the Star Wars series. This movie does so much in bringing back the nostalgia and why people love Star Wars, and I can see for that reason. If you've been under a rock and haven't ever heard of Star Wars, what were you doing?
Yeah, like.
Well, personally, I wouldn't put this at number one. I'll probably put this maybe at the 3 or maybe 4 because it is a really good movie. Though it does play on a few bits and pieces of its predecessor that it really wants to succeed over. It does really well. I will definitely say that the villain, as you just said, he is a character. Because when you go by comparison, let's just say, okay, go by the first movie, go by Darth Vader. What did he have?
Yeah, he was like that kind of like what would you say, like that badass kind of strong villain from the start and everything, which wasn't a bad thing at the time. At the time, it wasn't. But this Kylo Ren I like because he's not meant to be Darth Vader. He's just meant to be someone who's striving to be Darth Vader and everything. And which isn't a spoiler in case you people complain. It's in the damn trailer and that. But yeah. But
And because I'm going to back you up on that, a character needs to not show everything straight off, especially for a film that is trying to strive for 2 other films, establishing the characters, what's going to happen to what's going to happen next. We're going to explore more of the Star Wars universe at this current timeline. You don't show everything, so just wait until the next 2 movies at least, and then give judgment. But right now, he's a pretty decent villain. The emotional scenes are great. The nostalgia is just beyond imagination. It's just that incredible for fans. And while I'm not 100% a fan, I can understand why everyone loves it. I know it's a little bit confusing when I just said that, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's something that people love, and that's something I shouldn't judge.
Yeah, it's really, if you go, like, I grew up with Star Wars, and it's one of the reasons it makes my number one spot, because it revived this franchise that was not really, the prequels weren't beloved, to say the least. And I will say, to avoid spoilers, now I know a lot of people's complaints on this movie is the fact that it plays so much off A New Hope, to say the least. I won't get into much details there, but I will say that's also because it makes you feel, at least someone like bigger fans of the originals, it makes you feel at home again, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to defend it fully, because yes, I can understand where your negatives come in there and that, but it kind of, J.J. Abrams had a tough task. His job was to make millions of fans feel at home again, and kind of treading lightly, yet adding some events, to say the least, and everything, some moments, to say the least. I thought he made it his own more than A New Hope, and in my point of view and everything. And I thought he had such a big. He had nearly the impossible task of pleasing Star Wars fans again. He had to please them again, and he did it. He revived Star Wars, and if you're a fan of the prequels, that's fine. But just critically acclaimed, the prequels weren't beloved, and that by most, and that. So J.J. Abrams just decided to make fans feel at home again by playing it, treading lightly to start it off, and kicking us off into this new story of sorts. But yeah, I love this movie. I thought it's my number one. We'll see what the list looks like when I re-update it prior to the Oscars in February. But as of the end of this year, this is my top 10. Do you have any final comments, Scott? Or
I don't think we made a honorable mention. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to say?
Honorable mentions. I should have said them just before my number one, but I'll say them now. My honorable mentions were Sicario, starring Emily Blunt, Josh Brolin, and Benicio del Toro, about the drug cartel stuff. Denis Villeneuve, who directed one of my favorite movies of all time, in Prisoners, with Hugh Jackman, Jake Gyllenhaal, fantastic. Other honourable mentions are Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation. Nothing else really needs to be said there. Everest, which I thought was great. Jurassic World, which I thought was very fun, and that and Spectre sneaks into my honourable mentions, and that Spectre sneaks in. That's something I'll talk to in another video though, because even though it's there, it's something worth talking about, to say the least. And that, but yeah. Anyway, is there any final comments you want to say, Scott, or should we just wrap it up?
No, I think that's fine. I think we talked enough.
All right, I think we've talked for a fair while now for you guys, about over 40 minutes of my top 10. So wrapping it up right now for you guys, just to finish up, I'll just kind of summarize everything. So my number 10 was Avengers: Age of Ultron. My number 9 was Ant-Man. My number 8 was Steve Jobs. My number 7 was Ex Machina. My number 6 was Inside Out. Number 5 was Room. Number 4 was The Martian. Number 3 was Creed. Number 2 was Kingsman: The Secret Service. And number 1 was Star Wars: The Force Awakens. And that. Thank you so much for listening, guys. If you managed to listen throughout this whole video, I'll probably not have it uploaded until the following day after I've recorded this, but it will be up definitely, and that, because I'm very proud to have done this video. I'm very happy I've finally got it out of the way. And that, but yes, as well to Scott. Thanks for joining me, Scott, once again. And that, all right. Yeah. Until then, I'll probably be working on more videos with Scott if he wants to join me, and that. Yeah, we'll probably work on our most anticipated movies. I think we're working on for 2016. And that should be good. And more trailer talk videos. There hasn't been a lot of trailers coming out lately. We'll probably do another trailer talk video soon. Hopefully, I've been wanting to do one talking about that Star Trek Beyond trailer and the Fantastic Beasts trailer and everything. I
believe it's because a recent con was on and it had a lot of trailers released. That's why there was so much trailers recently come out.
Yeah.
And then shortly after, I believe it's just like kind of the aftermath. We're not getting that many trailers because it's pretty much bam, here we go. Here's all the trailers.
Yeah. But anyway, to pretty much sum up the video so it's not too long now. Yeah, that's pretty much the whole video, guys. That's my top 10. Thanks to Scott for joining me again. And yeah, until then, guys, I'll see you in the next video, which will hopefully be up as soon as possible, probably in the new year. So I'll see you guys in the new year. Have a very happy and safe new year. See you guys.